So you were telling me that you recently got into a radio program at U of O. Like, tell me
Yes.
more about that.
So the radio station, it's called KWVA. It's located in the EMU, just in that little corner down there. Um, and basically, yeah, a friend told me that she had started volunteering there for the arts and culture show, and I thought that sounded really cool. And I was just very into like grabbing up all the things I heard about that I can be involved in. So I was like, okay, winter term, I'm going to fill in an application for it because I was like too busy fall term. And I was actually like wrote it down in my like to-do list that day that I was going to go there, and they were actually tabling right in the EMU, so I passed them as I was planning on going down to the radio station.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I talked to one of the girls there named Bernice. She's the assistant director of the arts and culture show, and she gave me an application to fill out, and I filled it out, and yeah, they like gave me a tour of the station and basic editing and stuff like that. And there's a couple different kinds of shows, so I could basically decide where I wanted to go, which I never really landed on one because they're all really cool. And I had ideas for all of them, so I could just like record with one, and then the next week I could record with another and stuff. So
Yeah.
um, that's kind of how it went. Um, yeah, and the people are super cool. It's a really chill environment where you can kind of just make whatever you want, pitch whatever
Hmm.
idea. And so it's really nice. And yeah.
So, so do you get your like the opportunity to make your own show, or do you build off another show that already exists?
So yeah, the assistant directors are the ones who are in charge of like their own shows. So there's story time, which is more like just student based ideas, and then arts and culture. And then there's one called decolonizing something. I feel like there's more to the title, but I can't remember. And
Uh,
that's just more like stories and interviewing people and like uh, minority like communities or clubs or whatever. And then there's the news show, and it's like the main ones, I think. But yeah, you can pitch kind of whatever you want. If you have a good idea, they'll find a place for it somewhere. And
hmm.
so like basically usually there's like a couple people on each team. And so like then after like the big meeting, we'd like break off into teams and um brainstorm like show ideas for that week. And then okay, so make sure you're doing this. And then the assistant directors are basically just making sure that there's either they're recording something and they're recording stuff with other people, or something is going to be happening that week for their show. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, we just like, it's very casual, just like conversations about what do we want to create, making sure that there's something there, reaching out to people if we need to interview them and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah. So you get to choose to run this through. So you get to choose the person that you want to have like an interview. You have the actual conversation with them, and then you do the editing as well, from what I heard.
Yeah, so let's say I actually didn't do a lot of editing before quarantine because when I was working at the radio station in winter, a lot of the segments I was doing was with other people. So they'd be like, "Oh, we're doing a roundtable," or "Oh, this person's interviewing someone from the deck nest. Do you want to join in?" And so I'd be kind of doing it with a lot of other people, which is
Uh
really
huh.
fun. But I never really was. I kind of hopped onto a lot of ideas,
Yeah.
or I probably some of them were I honestly can't remember, but so I was just kind of I didn't actually get a lot of the editing experience till now. So I'm trying to like really teach myself that over quarantine. But yeah, it's pretty nice too, and it's not too stressful because you don't have to edit it like that much. You just want to make
Right.
it nice and make sure,
Yeah. As long as it flows, it's good.
yeah, like as long as it flows. But yeah, so it's pretty fun. It's pretty nice. Yeah, you just pitch an idea, go with it, find someone to interview, ask them the questions, wrap it up. Get to meet a lot of cool
So
people.
I'm interested then because obviously, with this series and even the podcast that I have going on, it's got some structure, but it's not like anything super well off structured or anything like
Mhm.
that. So I'm interested to hear your perspective just because obviously, I think with a lot of the radio programs, there's more structure to it. And as it sounds so far, I like the idea of having like roundtables and all of that. But have you had opportunities to reach out yourself to people that you've had like a vision with in terms of like wanting them to interview, and how's that experience like on your end?
Yeah, so the main person I've reached out to recently was um, this guy named Connor who is a UO grad, and he has his own podcast called Good News, a podcast, and I wanted to talk to him about just the idea of good news and why he thought it was, an important thing, because I've always been, really interested in good news. And
Yeah.
that was kind of my idea originally. I actually reached out to the Instagram page Good News Movement to see if the person who
Uh-huh.
ran it wanted to do an interview with me. They didn't reach out to me, which is fine because they're really big and like
Yeah.
Instagram page, so I wasn't expecting them to really answer me. Um, but yeah, it was really cool. I was like nervous because I've like done interviews before, but this one was like very solo. And um, I've done a lot of interviews also for the paper, but those ones are more like getting the information and then you type it up. So it's not as like,
Right.
you know,
On the
it
spot in a
felt like I
sense.
need to be very polished, and I'm not very polished like
Right.
talker. Like I talk really
Yeah,
fast
yeah.
and I say and I pause a lot to collect my thoughts. And so I felt a little bit nervous about it, but it was really cool. And I tried to, I planned out some questions ahead of time, but I also tried to let the conversation take me where it was going to by, seeing what he was saying. Cause I didn't know him. I had not met him before I interviewed him. So it was kind of cool to just also, let the conversation go where it was going to go.
Yeah. And that's an interesting experience because like not only do you get the opportunity to meet the person, but you also get to meet the person as, whoever's listening to your show is, meeting them as well. So it
Exactly.
provides like that very like authentic feel of like you're at that moment, since you don't know them that well, you're asking them questions that more than likely whoever's listening also has for them,
Hmm.
which I
Yeah.
mean is a good feeling for sure.
Yeah. It's really nice because it makes you have like endless things that directions you could go in, because everything they say is a new piece of information. So, people are not boring, in my opinion. Like, no one's really boring. And so anything they're saying is something new to talk about, because even if you weren't recording it, you'd be curious, oh, like, why do you do this? What's this? When did you start this? So it
Yeah.
kind of makes it cool because you can kind of like go so many places with it.
Yeah, you can pick and choose. I like that. As the interviewer, honestly, I will admit that I really enjoy driving the conversation
Yeah.
because, like you said, it really relies like allow your guests, the opportunity to talk about whatever it is that you guys are talking about, but also it gives you time to like plan out. And I totally feel you in the sense of like not being a polished speaker at moments because I have those moments too where it's like okay, like I might blank on an idea, I might have something forming but it disappears, or sometimes I don't feel like I articulate enough. And so in that moment, like because I'm not the person speaking, it gives me the opportunity to come up with something and move the conversation forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that I'm really bad at it. When I was editing that video, the audio segment, I was like, wow, I say so much. And when you like play this back, you might be like, whoa, she says a lot. And I didn't even realize it, because when you're just talking in normal conversation, it's not something you really notice. But
Yeah.
I kind of just realized, like, it's fine. I know how to edit it out, and I'll get better at it the more I do it. So it doesn't really matter. And I think that I was nervous about that, but I think I still am, but it's kind of cool to just be like, well, it's fine, because probably everyone does it, and you never notice anyone else's but you only notice your own.
Right, exactly. Like the saying that you're your biggest criticizer. Like that
Mhm.
applies to a lot of these, especially with these projects where like you want to provide the best content for whoever it is that's listening to you, right? And if you know that you could have been better in certain places, that might be apparent to you, but whoever's listening is like, "Oh, dude, you did such a great job," or "That was like a really good conversation. Like, how did you do that?" So it's interesting when that happens, where it's like, I know I think I could have done a better job, but to the audience it was like, oh, I did a good job already.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone's always their own perfectionist to themselves.
Yeah, yeah. But so then I guess in this sense, how does it feel being the guest in this series, if you will?
It's still a little nerve-wracking, especially with cameras. I feel like it's just
Yeah.
weird, like able to look at yourself too. It adds a different
Right.
level of like, I don't know. But it's fun. Yeah, it's nice just being able to like not have to think about what you want it to look like, or what you hope it goes towards, or anything like that. It's nice being on the other end of it too, because I love talking to people. So like I could do that any day.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like sometimes the conversations that I have with people just go on for a while because even when you think the conversation's about to end, there might be one little thing that comes up that you're like, oh, I know there's things there. Let's expand on that. And like the art of conversation is very, it's memorable. one, but it's also entertaining to see. I think,
Yeah,
me
exactly. I like
personally.
that, the art of conversation. That's a really good way of describing it. Have you had a lot of experience with being on the other end of it too? Have you been on like other podcasts and stuff?
So I've done a couple, like not podcasts, but like other like interviews where I've been on the guest side, but I haven't had that much of an opportunity to go to other people's show and like be the guest for once, which I've wanted
Like
to do, especially more recently. But obviously, like before all of this hit, that was like one of the big goals that I had for my show of like being able to be featured on somebody else's, even if it was over a call or something, just to have that experience of like, because I feel like once you're a guest, you also get that experience is so valuable to you as a host because it kind of shows you the other side and lets you think of like, okay, where can I improve based on my experience as a guest?
Yeah, for sure. Which do you like better? Do you have a preference?
I think I haven't gotten to experience the guest side of things to say that I have a preference. I really enjoy host again for that control piece of being able to drive the conversation wherever it is that I want to drive it.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a fun thing
Yeah.
to do.
I,
Fun and
I
nerve.
appreciate you I appreciate you throwing those questions at the end. I think this is the first time I've had questions asked on mine. Even when I have these like my regular podcast episodes, it's very hard to get the guest to ask me questions unless they have experience.
It's exactly what you're saying, where you're like, when you're in one position, you know how to play it for the other position. Because, like,
Exactly.
I have been doing a lot of interviews the past year, and I didn't really do any before. And I also, but the whole time I was doing it, and basically the whole rest of the year, I didn't actually have any, like, knowledge or any, like, I hadn't been taught how to do it. And then the classes I'm taking now are all very, like, this is how you interview and stuff. So I'm also
Yeah.
gaining in all of that. And so I've gotten really good at, like, probing the questions. And so I also know, I don't know, I think it's like more fun when it's like also like, oh, well, like it should be like, well,
It
how would
should
you
be a
normally
back and
do?
forth.
Yeah, so I
Exactly.
think it's more fun like that too. Like even if the other person is interviewing and it's like you're interviewing this person, it's still like, fun to like not have it just be like a you know, a back forth thing.
Yeah.
'Cause,
At,
yeah,
at the end of the day,
especially
the
if it's a
conversation's a two
conversation.
way.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
two-way street. It's not one way. It's not me just talking to you, but it's like we can
exactly.
go both ways.
Yeah,
But we hit the
certainly give
10-minute mark. we, we hit the 10-minute mark on this conversation. I appreciate you, Amalia, for coming through this one. If you
yeah.
want to hear more from Amalia or myself on this topic, feel free to drop a like or a comment down below, and we'll see you all for the next episode. See ya.